go over the minutes. Thank you. So thanks everybody for coming here. Last meeting of June. And we'll do self-introductions. My name's John Bly, Executive Director of the Engineering Contractors Association. And we'll go over here to Tom first.
Tom Banning, District 3. Steve Merlo, who's here above. Jared Lacer, Electric Auto Association.
Mark Hale, BIA. Brian Ling, 4th District.
Rick Levin, League of Women Voters.
Stephanie Elliott, District 5.
Thank you. And we'll go up on the screen. And
I'm Dana Trey with SCTCA.
okay.
Gina Erickson.
Margot Kanyas, SCTCA.
Brenton Hare, SCTCA.
Kelly?
He
No?
was my proxy at the last meeting. He decided.
Oh, okay. And sorry, what? Tony?
There she is up top.
Tony Bertolero, City of Sebastopol.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Tony. I'm sorry. Welcome. All right. And we have a couple of, at least new to me, folks at the desk. Would you start off the introductions back there? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Tanya Narath, SCTCA.
Dave Roberta, SCTCA.
Terry Zwillinger, City of Healdsburg.
Clay Thistle, City of Healdsburg.
Shauna Gaz, SCTCA.
Adam Garcia, SCTCA.
Steph Britt, SCTCA.
Mark Rincon, City of Sebastopol.
Chris Barney, SCTCA.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for coming on this beautiful Sonoma County day. And we are on to public comments on items not on the regular agenda, if there are any. I'm seeing no hands raised. Anybody on the screen? Brenton's got one. Is that a hand raised? Nope. False alarm. All right, we'll go on to administrative items. And Ross is up with the committee of the whole meeting minutes. Oh, we can't do that because we don't have a quorum. So let's go on to our measure items if we could. And we'll go to the Go Sonoma project presentation. Sebastopol staff, Shauna, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Ross is out for a while. So, and I would like to make sure that you are introduced to Dawn Gorst.
Okay.
So she's the new Drew. She's her own person, obviously, but yeah, but we're happy to have her. She just started with us. So we're happy to get her up and running.
Excellent.
With that, I would like to introduce, I think Sebastopol is first on the list. So we'll go with Sebastopol. As we do each month, we bring to you some project presentations for our measure projects. And for many years now, it has only been Measure M projects. But as we move into Go Sonoma, we are starting to see projects move forward with Go Sonoma funding. While not all of them have started spending money, they all are reporting. So we are asking that they come in and talk about their project development. So that includes this month, the City of Sebastopol and the City of Healdsburg. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark Rincon for the City of City of Sebastopol.
All right.
All righty, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So the city of Sebastopol has proposed one project. It's called Bodega Avenue Bike Lanes and Pavement Rehab Phase 2. So this is the second part of a project that was started back in 2018, and it's just a continuation. And it includes bike lanes, pavement improvements, let's see, 3.35 miles of bike lane, upgrade curbs, ramps, rehabilitate the roadway to widening and improve the needed width to accommodate bike lanes. The project goal is to improve safety, reduce traffic fatalities, serious injuries, and for all road users. The city's LRSP identified segments of Bodega Avenue as a top priority for improvements. And so this is our presentation here today. I don't know if it's up on the screen.
Yeah, it's up on the
Oh,
screen.
okay, great. Go ahead. Alrighty, so we prepared a 4-slide outlook, so you kind of see the project overview, especially on the maps there. You can see it as Bodega Avenue exits the city, close to exiting the city. As it approaches the county on the west side, you can see we're adding curb ramps, we're adding class 2 bike lanes, and then we're also doing some retaining walls to keep the width sufficient for all these activities, all the pedestrian uses.
Washington.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we got the next phase thereafter. And so you look at the schedule, like I said, we're hoping to complete the grant cycle this year. Design environmental right of way was completed in April of this year. Finalized the bid set, PS&Es, July of 25. So this month we should have it completed. Well, we have it completed. And then advertise for bids in August of 25.
Good.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to continuing to getting the bike lane through town. And it's really important too, because as you noted, the Joe Rodota Trail ends there in Sebastopol or begins in Sebastopol, depending on your point of view. And then from there, people kind of work their way through town, but this gets them well on their way to the coastline. So this is one of the key links for the area to get it to, especially bicyclists to the coast. And if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to have it.
Yeah, Jerry.
One is, I don't know, yeah, there we go. So part of that bike lane, there's a housing project that's been approved now for 8 years. On the empty lot right across from the cemetery.
Yep.
And part of their responsibility was to dig out that hill and put in a barrier wall and put in a sidewalk. So is this project taking over that responsibility?
I can't answer that because I'm not familiar with the project, but I have Tony Bertorello online too. Perhaps Tony, if you have any ideas on that.
Yes, that project is called Huntley Square.
Yep.
And they've been in the books for a while, and they're located on the north side of Bodega Avenue. It's within Bodega Avenue Phase 2. And I don't know if you saw slide 3, if you could put slide 3 up there. There you go. And if you could see where it says future development on the upper left hand, yep, that's where Huntley Square is supposed to go. So that's the section that Huntley is actually supposed to widen. So at that point, we have a pinch point on the project. And so you could see that in that location, we actually have to have a share the road section until that development comes in. The project's completely approved. And we were hoping to see them start construction. They had indicated that they were going to do the public improvements before they actually do the on-site grading. But I'm not quite sure where they're at right now. We're just waiting for them to start, but hopefully anytime soon. So in the meanwhile, we have kind of an interim solution. So no, the city is not going to take over the widening of Bodega. That's an expectation of that future development.
Okay, so the bike lane then is discontinuous essentially. The
That
rest
is
of the narrow
correct.
in that space and it has high hills on both sides. In fact, there's not even a sidewalk across there.
That is correct. And so, that is one of the areas that, it's just not a commitment that the city was willing to take for widening. That was a responsibility of the developer, and the developer has committed to doing that. They just haven't started the work yet.
Yeah, I mean, they were approved in 2018, 2019, maybe?
It's been, we thought for sure that they would have started by now, but obviously they haven't, so.
The reason I'm asking the question is it looks like a project that's not going to achieve the results that as
Because,
opposed to
because the
achieving-
subdivision's not getting built, there won't be as many people
Exactly,
utilizing the
there's a
trail.
hill in the way.
Right, and so that's why we had put the share the road up at that point. I think cars are gonna be going slow because they are going up that hill. It's not, definitely not ideal. But, you know, that is just something that we'll be working with that developer on to, you know, obviously we can't force them to do the improvements now until they're ready. But my understanding is their project has been approved. They are on the books and they're expected to start. We just don't know when.
But and the only question I'm asking is whether this is the time to do the bike lane. I mean, that part of the road, share the road itself is dangerous. There's a red light that you can turn on at Nelson and the cars don't stop for the red light. So sharing the road with bikes, it didn't seem like the place.
You know, we did have this looked at by our traffic engineer. I mean, he's been, W-Trans has been the traffic engineer for the city for quite a number of years. And so this has been on the, this segment of the roadway has been identified and also to the public for a number of years. And so I think the expectation is that where we can put in the bike lanes, we're going to put the bike lanes. It is a section that we do have to pay close attention to. We're trying to add additional signage on here. You can see that there's some pavement markings, but we probably will have to do more signage in this area. I can't tell you exactly what the signage are. I don't have the plans in front of me, but you know, that is something that we're aware of, that it's not ideal in this location, but under the circumstances, we did try to improve it as best as we can.
Thank you. Rick first and then Stephanie.
I can't quite read the map. Can you identify the east and west boundaries of this project?
The west boundary is right there on Pleasant Hill Avenue. And then the east boundary is actually on, says Robinson, but it's actually Nelson Way, which is right past, just west of Robinson.
I see. So this is up and down Pleasant Hill.
So
It's up in, it's on Bodega Avenue.
Yeah, it goes up and down Pleasant Hill, right?
No, it goes to Pleasant Hill.
I'm talking about the hill itself, not the road.
Oh, the hill. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. I thought you're talking about the limits of the project.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
I thought that someone was actually proposing another bike trail that would go through the cemetery and Burbank Heights and connect over to Water Trough.
Yep, Lynn Detroit.
Yeah, so I'm just a little confused where these two projects fit with each other.
Yeah, that project was, I think you're talking about the Apple Blossom Trail. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that project is on the active transportation plan, but that is not a project that is actually currently on the city's CIP, Capital Improvement Program, simply because there's supposed to be some feasibility studies first, and there's also some property right-of-way issues with that, and so that's been looked at. But at this time, it is not an active capital improvement program project.
Just say I actually bike this and my kids bike this, and I mean, I'm all for as many bike trails and walking trails as possible, but also just like actually knowing that area and where energy should go. It's like this little teeny section being redone versus potentially a much larger one that would connect to a school. Curious why the city wouldn't try and really put as much energy towards focusing on that versus this.
I think it's because this project has been discussed for quite a long time. It predated me. I know Mark mentioned 2018, but I believe a lot of the public outreach happened way back since 2016. So I think the Apple Blossom has also been discussed, but in terms of active planning for that, I haven't seen that occur. We actually asked for some funding for that, the feasibility study for the Apple Blossom Trail, but that wasn't actually approved. at least not for this fiscal year. I'm sorry, for this coming fiscal year in 2025-26.
Okay, you good, Steph?
Try to, yeah.
Kind of good. So my question is, what's the engineer's estimate, and will the contractor doing this project have to coordinate with whatever is to be done with the Hundley project? Is there gonna be starts and stops, or is this smooth sailing all the way through for whoever is the lucky bidder in August?
Okay, right now, the construction cost estimate is 2.5 million. And the Go Sonoma Roads grant is for 2.24 million. That's for the construction. The city's actually already expended quite a bit. For the Bodega Phase 1, that construction cost was about roughly 1.5 million. And we did get an OBAG 2 grant for that first phase of project, and that was from High Street to Nelson. And so in terms of your question as to if the developer is to come in, yes, they are required to coordinate with this contractor. Right now, we believe this construction will probably be done before the Huntley developer will come in. We thought it was going to be the other way around, but it's not looking like that. And so that's why the plans were set up to show this interim, these improvements to Bodega where the development is supposed to occur. And so when the developer is ready to start their project, they'll have to continue from that point of the what was completed by this contractor.
So it'd be the Huntley contractor has to kind of jump over the hurdles to connect.
That is correct.
Do their work. Okay.
That is correct.
And the only reason I'm asking this is a couple projects came out in the last 2 weeks and had very little activity on them, and some of the guys missed the advertisement. How does the city of Sebastopol advertise their public works projects like this?
It's a formal bid process, and so it has to go through obviously a public advertisement. It gets advertised in the newspaper, it gets advertised through the builders exchanges.
Okay. North Coast Builders Exchange.
Yep.
And the local newspaper. All right, thank you.
That is correct.
Tom?
Is it possible to zoom in on some of the cross sections?
No, I doubt it. It's a PDF or.
Are any of these bike lanes, there we go.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, he wants to see the cross section. Scroll up,
scroll up.
Probably down.
whatever.
Keep going.
There you go.
Thank you. Are any of these bike lane sections buffered? And are there any, like the plastic bollards?
How wide are they?
It's like 6.
I'm having a hard time hearing the question. I'm sorry.
Am I on?
No.
You're not. His question was, are any of the lanes buffered? And my question would be, how wide are they? Because I know the lane before that is only about 2 feet wide.
Yes, where we tried to fit in 3-foot buffers for the bike lanes, and where we could not because of the hill, there's right across from like where the cemetery is, and also where the Burbank Farms is located. We were not able to fit a 3-foot buffer, and so we just widened out the bike lane in those sections.
And what's the speed limit through here?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe, oh gosh, I should know that, but I don't have that handy right now. Sorry.
35 to 45 to 40 to 25.
Okay.
Back and forth and back and forth. There's not a single speed limit.
Okay,
Every few blocks it changes.
because I believe there are design standards out there that say anything over 30 miles an hour, you really should have buffering and bollards. I mean, not all design standards are like that, but such things exist for safety because of the speed difference.
Just a follow-up question. Is there a bike lane beyond Pleasant Hill going out towards the coast?
I don't believe so, no.
So this bike lane ends at,
The county line is
Pleasant Hill.
essentially a block away from the county line.
yeah, okay.
So just curious, Tony, are you aware of what Tom was talking about the requirements for the buffering of the bike lane and
Yes.
were you able to get past that or around that?
Well, I think like, I think
Citing the lower speed limit that's over there.
right, right. You know, that's like I said, you know, we had to have this go through our traffic engineer, and unfortunately, I can't answer the specifics as to where we were able to meet that requirement or where we would have to change the speed limit. And so I'd have to ask him that question, but I appreciate the question because that is something that we'll be making sure that we I think those design standards should have been met, but I'll have to get back to you on that.
If they're not, you always got a fallback. You can lower the speed limit. Stephanie?
Yeah, I think you have to there's probably a little bit more to it than that. I'm sure there's warrants and things like that, but I'll have to ask him about how that was done. But I will double check on the speed limits for the areas where we were not able to meet that 3-foot buffer. But as I mentioned, some of those areas where we were not able to meet that 3-foot buffer, I know that we widened the bike lane. And so that might have been a way, also a way around it.
Thank you. Okay, Stephanie?
I was gonna say, there is another bike trail that starts at Regal and goes up to Water Trough, but it isn't on the other side of the road, so it does make it like a jagged, not very continuous thing if you are looking longer term. And I just want to point out that most likely this is gonna benefit kids, because you got schools right around there, you have libraries around there, you have parks around there, and so really thinking about who are the people that are gonna be using this and how to really make it a safe thing for them. And if it can't really be wide or have bollards or other things, you actually might be inviting a bigger risk than actually trying to do something that's not really gonna help out. Like, I don't.
Did you actually imagine kids on that road?
Yeah. I mean, my son rides it,
Really?
but he's really well versed in a bike, but I'm just saying you're not really gonna attract like people on their e-bikes trying to go somewhere. It's in neighborhoods, it's close to school. So just if you're gonna spend money and time doing this design, think about who's really this is gonna benefit and how really to make it a safe thing for them. It's just my suggestion.
I did want to mention that the Bodega Avenue, thank you for that comment. But for the Bodega, we are looking at Bodega Avenue Phase 3, which will take it from Pleasant Hill all the way to the city limit. And it's going to connect into that Atascadero Creek Trail that the county has. And so that is part of the Phase 3 project.
Oh, yeah. So from Pleasant Hill down to the Atascadero Creek where the other one starts.
Correct. The other bike trail that you were talking about going up and down Regal, that's another project we are hoping to partner with the county on, because a large part of that segment of Regal is also on county jurisdiction. But that's something that's a future project that we are looking at. We've attempted to get some grant projects with that west side Regal Road bike trail, but we have not been successful.
Can I just ask one more question?
No, absolutely not. Yes.
With the continuous, when you talked about potentially trying to connect those two trails, where would you try and connect those two trails?
It would go down, you mean for Bodega Phase 3?
Yeah.
It would connect to the bike trail on the west let's see, it would go down Valley View Drive. And so there's actually going to be like I don't know if it's called the Bike Boulevard. We haven't gone through a lot of the design yet, but we are looking at just doing it on the south side of Bodega.
I'm just thinking that's like they've already had to put, it's a really dangerous section.
Right.
So.
And so that's the section that I believe we're just looking at the south side of Bodega and having a kind of like a two-way, bike lane on the south side. But as I said, we haven't done the design yet. And so that's just something that we're going to be working on at this time.
John?
Yeah.
Beyond, this isn't a question, this is, hey, we're the Citizens Advisory Committee. To me, this project looks like one that is coming too soon. That it doesn't achieve the result that it should be achieving, that other things need to be in place. And it's probably the first time since I've sat here. My advice is delay this until it actually can accomplish something.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the project was analyzed by staff as part of the SCTA funding program cycle 1. It was scored and properly awarded funds by the SCTA board. The responsibility of the committee is to oversee the expenditures of GO-SONOMA funds related to this project. We appreciate the comments on the project design. As noted, the available right of way for the project is very constrained, so very much limits what the city can potentially do out there on Bodega. We are very cognizant of the need to provide safe and accessible facilities for all ages and abilities to be able to use the roadways for active transportation purposes. As noted by Tony, there are plans by the city to do further work on Bodega Avenue that would be less stressful and have better facilities. But within this section, there's very much a lot of constraints on what we could do, especially with that adjacent developer. So staff recommends that you accept the presentation from the city, and this project is ready to go out to bid. It is largely a pavement rehabilitation project that includes active transportation facilities, but it's largely focused on rehabilitating and maintaining the roadway structural section. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. All right. With that, thank you, Mark and Tony, for your presentation. Are you looking for action item on this, or just this is just information only?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for framing it too, David. Appreciate that.
You don't have a quorum.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's no action other than nod our heads. That's good. Good project. All right. Thank you, guys. You agree, nod your head. If you don't, shake your head.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce the staff from the city of Healdsburg to give their presentation on the Grove Street and Ward Street projects.
All right, you guys are forewarned now. Look out for this committee, huh?
So this street that we're talking about is pretty dangerous. Is that what the display is supposed to be?
What the hell did you do to yourself?
Bike riding,
Oh, no.
mountain biking, that's what's a little bit.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Hey, Clay, a couple times in a month. What the hell's going on here?
So I do have physical handouts. Take one. You.
Ooh, pictures.
Pictures.
I don't think there's any pictures.
I'll take that one. You can keep that one going.
Are we ready, John?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead.
Go ahead, Glenn. Thank you.
Wait a second, maybe let those go around. So just brief introductions. I'm Clay Thistle. I'm a principal engineer at the city of Healdsburg. With me today is Terry Zwellinger. Terry's a new project manager that we brought on to assist us with our projects. She's been there about 6 weeks. Terry has a lot of experience and we're excited to have her. So the last time I reported to the Citizens Advisory Committee, I think it was approximately 2 years ago, maybe, when we did the closeout of the Foss Creek pathway. So we successfully completed the Foss Creek pathway with Measure M funds, leading from the south end of Healdsburg up to almost all the way to the north end to the community center. So back here again, I'm gonna be talking to you about two of our projects that have GO-SONOMA funding. The first one being our Grove Street neighborhood implementation, Complete Streets project. And then the second one that we'll touch on is the Ward Street neighborhood. And then possibly when we're back in a year or so, there's some upcoming projects that are also going to be receiving GO-SONOMA funding. And that'll be US 101 Dry Creek Interchange. We're getting some funding to kick off the PID. And then also GO-SONOMA funding has been able to contribute to March Avenue, where we're doing a project, and it will be contributing with curb ramp enhancements and crossing enhancements. So just a preview of those two projects. So Grove Street, it's from Grant, if you're familiar with Healdsburg, from Grant Street all the way up to Dry Creek Road. The project takes existing 12-foot travel lanes and reduces those to 11-foot. We're gonna add curb, gutter, and sidewalk where none exists. So this is kind of a county-ish street that's been taken upon by the city. Over time, there's been pockets of development, and really this project is gonna go through and make those connections. The proposed sidewalk will be 6 foot with 5 foot planter strips. Where we have challenges, that planter strip may be reduced to bring the sidewalk adjacent to the curb. There'll be on-street parallel parking. It'll kind of vary from selected locations. And with that, with using the parking, there will be lane shifts, creating what's referred to as chicanes. So to try and create a little bit of meandering along the roadway to really slow those speeds down. The portion of Grove Street from Grant up to the skate park, or where the Foss Creek pathway intersects Grove Street, that will be a class 3, so bikes will be sharing the roadway. And then from the Foss Creek pathway to Dry Creek, we'll convert to a class 2. So where you have that influx of bicycle traffic, it'll be class 2 all the way up to the Dry Creek interchange. At the skate park, there will be a protected raised crossing with a rapid flasher. There's 2 bus stops along the corridor. Those will both be enhanced also. In advance of the project, the overhead utilities are being converted to underground utilities.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and so then that will incorporate streetlight enhancements also throughout the corridor. Wood poles will be removed, communication lines will then be buried. Just in your handout here, I did provide the project webpage. And then I was just going to briefly go through some of the milestones that we've kind of achieved, and then go on to kind of some of those next steps that we need to get through to get to construction. So the city of Healdsburg provides their own electric, City of Healdsburg Electric. So they will be the project sponsor. They'll be the project sponsor. Well, it's not actually, it's even more complex. Along the corridor, there is also some PG&E lines. From as it become annexed, there's still remaining PG&E facilities, and then PG&E has pass-through facilities that are along the corridor also. So it'll be an undergrounding project with combining all those utilities, the communication also to be placed underground. The City of Healdsburg Electric is the project sponsor, taking the lead on that, with the others joining in a joint trench build. Yeah. So just, I'm going to run through some of these milestones, and this, you can follow along on the handout if you like. So back in May of 2023, we received a OBAG 3 grant, $2.2 million. October 2023, we went to council and awarded the professional services agreement with CSW Superstrode. They're our design team. In March of 2024, we went ahead and did the Caltrans field review. So the OBAG 3 funding is federalized funding. So then those funds are administered through Caltrans, local assistance. So that's kind of a process-oriented process that you go through to secure those fundings. So one of the first steps was that field review. November 2024, we executed that funding agreement for the Go Sonoma funds, $283,000. Just recently, I know these may seem not that important, but they really are huge milestones to us. We received approval of our historic property survey and our archaeological survey. And then, just here recently in June, we actually got our environmental clearance. It's under a mile. I'd say it's 3/4 of a mile.
Clay, anything come
Please.
up in the historic property in the ASR?
Not really, it's just that there are some older homes along the corridor, so we did need to do the study, and confirm that we weren't having any impact.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, there was also archaeological investigation, to determine, and coordination with the local tribes.
That is becoming more and more of a bottleneck, isn't it? It's one of those bottlenecks you don't really think about much, but
I do have to say, I think Shauna warned me about it. And I wasn't very familiar with they call it the Section 106 process. I was not very familiar with it, and it took a long time. It really did. In hindsight, maybe we could have got a little bit out in front of it. I'm not sure. Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah. So then kind of the next steps that we need to go through to really get this project built. So Caltrans process is the right-of-way certification. So proving that we are working within our right-of-way and that we have a plan for adjusting any non-owned facilities. So existing manholes that need to be adjusted. We need to just show that we have a plan to address the things that are anticipated. So that's the right-of-way certification process. So we're working through that. Really, we're hoping to complete that here in the next couple months. And then really making our request for authorization for funding. That's the official request to Caltrans that we then are good with the funding. The E76, hopefully we hit that in December. That's the official approval. Right after receiving that approval, then we would be publicly advertising, and then going to council for that award. We're hoping to begin construction in March of 2026.
Nice.
Just briefly on the budget, Go Sonoma contributing 283,000, OBAG 2.2 million, city local fund in there for 770. So the city has fully sponsored the design component, and then we'll be matching those OBAG and Go Sonoma funds.
Construction of the 3.27 million, the construction estimate is
approximately 2.8.
2.8. Thank you.
Yeah. And so to date, our design expenditures are about $350,000.
Could I ask you a question?
Please.
This is a residential street and people need to have access to and from their properties. How are you going to manage the construction and still make sure people can get where they need to get?
Sure. I mean, so when we administer projects like this, we try and maintain driveway access, at all times. Sometimes that can be challenging and a driveway, can be disrupted for, a day or two, but really it's kind of making sure that the work is segmented and then ultimately that it's open up for residents to come and go from their property. Oftentimes plating is used or temporary ramping, in and out of driveways as when sidewalks are being poured or things like that.
I presume the neighborhood knows about this, right?
Yes, there's been a thorough public participation. We had several, community meetings and then individual residential meetings. We've met with some of the people. And then also we went to council with the 30% design to really have an open forum where everyone could understand what we were going to do, and then select how we wanted to move forward.
Has there been any opposition or organized or not?
No, I think the biggest discussion item, was probably the class of bike facilities along that first segment between Grant and the Foss Creek Path Skate Park. And then the decision was for those class 3s.
I'm kind of curious, what was wrong with the road before?
Oh, there's no pedestrian facilities. There's no sidewalks on either side of the road. There's limited portions. They're, with big gaps between them from just little development that has occurred along the corridor. So really this project is to build out those pedestrian facilities. We call it a complete streets project. So trying to address pedestrians, bikes, transit.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Jerry.
It's just a comment.
Please.
How are you able to do it for so little? Because our last meeting, we reviewed a quarter of a mile worth of sidewalk for $1.8 million. And you're at $3.5 million.
So
taking a mile and rebuilding everything.
Well, I think the piece that we aren't doing is the roadway pavement.
Okay.
What our strategy is to try and build out those curbs and gutters and sidewalk, and then hopefully accumulate funding to be able to then rehab the pavement.
So the undergrounding then will go under the sidewalks?
It depends. There's some portions that have to go in the street because of limited space, but the majority of it is trying to locate where a standard joint trench would be kind of at that back of sidewalk.
Yeah, I wish that all the projects could leverage $3 million like this.
Did you have any sewer water relocations and lowering?
Just very, very minimal, and those come out in that Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I just mean before you're moving forward with this project, or you?
No, the sewer and water had been upgraded as it was annexed and through that time. We do have some minor adjustments. We're building storm drains, so there's some sewer lateral adjustments and a couple gas services, adjustments of boxes to grade, things like
Great.
that.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. That was Grove Street.
Okay.
I included the plans. If we wanted, we could flip through really quick, or we can move to the Ward Street project. All right, I'll talk you through them. I'll talk you through them real quick. However they came off the print. Okay. So ultimately, the project starts there. We're looking at at sheet 3, upper left-hand corner. The project starts at West Grant. You'll see kind of on that would be the east side. That's where the first bus stop is. So building out a bus stop. Grade out on the other side is some improvements that have already been built. So we're trying to connect to those. The roadway is kind of narrow through there. It chicanes a little bit. As you see, then it opens up to some parking. I'm at station like 500. It opens up to some parking and then just kind of continues down at the bottom left. You know, the parking then becomes eliminated and it meanders. We're upgrading crosswalks at Sunset Lane. If we flip, plans up together. If we flip just to the last page, is kind of maybe where I just want to highlight. This is where it transitions from those class 3s, you know, to that class 2 as you get to the Dry Creek intersection. So kind of, you know, you're in that neighborhood, and then we kind of come to the skate park and where the bike traffic comes off of the Foss Creek pathway, and that's really where then you could pick up those class 2s and carry you up to Dry Creek intersection. Okay.
Excellent. Questions?
I'm gonna move on to Ward.
Okay. All right.
So the Ward Street project, it's a neighborhood revitalization, kind of at the southeast portion of the city of Healdsburg, adjacent to the Memorial Bridge, kind of Memorial Beach, and headed more into town, kind of towards McDonald's, if you're familiar with those areas. So in this area, there's a lot of need. You know, it's neighborhood streets that haven't received any improvements in quite some time. So really for this project, we're going to take a kind of a 2-step approach. The first is we're really going to perform an evaluation of the existing infrastructure and then really develop a comprehensive plan of what the public needs are. And then really from that public needs, you know, focusing on pedestrian enhancements, creating those connectivities, and then roadway rehabilitation, trying to put together a manageable project that really meets with the available funding. So trying to close sidewalk gaps, trying to upgrade those curb ramps, rehabilitate some pavement, and definitely improve drainage. And then after the assessment, really match those needs to a complete project. So no website yet. Currently, the request for proposal for design is currently out. There's a link there if you have interest to review it. Really, we've completed a couple milestones that may seem insignificant, but they really are significant. First, we secured that funding, SCTA, with Go Sonoma funding approximately $1.19 million. And then really just here recently in June, with bringing Terry on as staff, we were able to get that request for proposal to really get us a designer on board so we can gain that momentum moving forward. The next steps is going to be to award that design contract. And then that's really where we'll be launching our public engagement phase. So that's when we'll bring on the website and probably have a community meeting to really hear from the neighborhood. Once we have the public engagement, the public input, we have our design, or we have our needs assessment, then we can really bring that together and hopefully finalize in that design in April. Again, advertise, award, you know, and optimistically we're in construction in August. Just a brief, John, did you have a question? Please.
What do you anticipate when you put it out for public engagement? What do you think that they're gonna want or comment on?
I think what we're hoping is that we have that needs assessment and then can really hear from the public and have them help us prioritize.
Okay,
Prioritize the need. Usually a neighborhood knows their area better than we ever can. So they can really help us understand, pedestrian flows, where things, where people flow, where there is a hazard, where there is a drainage problem. So really collecting that information.
is
Please.
burying the overhead electric a part of this one too?
It is
or-
not. No, this is not an underground district in this area.
Okay,
Kind of an interesting component too about this project is the smart rail extension will be coming. And with the station, is really gonna provide a crossing that'll help funnel that neighborhood. So that may be part of how we focus those improvements to kind of make a corridor that gets you to smart and then across so you can work your way into town.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming. Just briefly, I'll touch on the budget. 1.19 of Go Sonoma funds matched with the local funding of 255. It gets us still about a $1.5 million project. Just not too many expenditures to date. 7,000 really working on getting that RFP out. Please.
So why did you focus on this street? Less the streets in Hillsburg. What was it about this one that?
So this is just the whole neighborhood. It's not just Ward Street, it's the adjacent streets also. So Adeline, South University, Railroad Avenue. So kind of just that neighborhood, and that it really hasn't received any infrastructure improvement attention in quite some time. And there's really a need, especially in those connectivity corridors. Okay. That's what I had. If there are no more questions, thank you.
thank you. Good job, Terry.
The sticker's on my head. It's all the things I'll be working on.
He's gonna make you run the next meeting all by yourself.
I know.
Yeah, we couldn't get a word in edgewise. God darn it.
Thanks again.
Exciting to see a couple projects coming out. Thank you. Our guys will be very happy to bid on that. Hi again, Shada.
Hi again. How are you?
Hey, pretty
That was
good.
fun.
Pretty good. It was fun.
Yeah. So I believe the next item on the agenda is to talk about the Measure M and Go Sonoma presentation schedule. So you've just had two presentations, both for Go Sonoma. And so every year we try to develop the schedule ahead of time. We take that to the Technical Advisory Committee and the transit agency so that they are all on notice. This is when we expect to hear from you. So this is really just an informational item. Yes, perfect. Thank you, BC. BC has pulled it up on the screen there just so that you can see what the proposed schedule is. Happy to take any input that you would like to give us, but this has gone to the Technical Advisory Committee. Everybody is on board with this schedule. So unless there's some real problem, or if there's something that is not included, I don't think there is.
I think Jerry's actually looked at this exhibit.
I actually
and
did
has
look at
a
it, and I
comment
am
on it.
totally bummed. Because there's one meeting I know that I'm going to miss, and it's going to be on the presentation that I look forward to the most each year, which is the buses.
The buses, the transit.
And I'm going to be in Amsterdam that day. So wrong time zone and everything else.
I'm sorry to hear it. Yeah.
It's more like a Facebook post than it is a CAC
You could do it.
comment.
Oh, then that's great.
Where do I find it?
It's in your agenda packet.
Yeah.
Emailed out.
Emailed out, yes.
It should have been emailed out to you.
Yeah.
We can make sure that it,
About a week ago.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember seeing one that's.
yes. It may
It's
have
in all
come from
the
someone
various
because
attachments.
Ross is out, so it may have had somebody else's name on it. Yes,
Excellent. Thank you.
sure, you bet. The next item on the agenda is just another informational item. So along with the presentations that we provide to you, each quarter of the fiscal year, we ask the project sponsors, this is new to Go Sonoma, to provide quarterly reporting. So you're all familiar with the annual report. We get an annual reporting letter. There's a lot that goes on with that where we summarize everything that happened during the fiscal year. This is more about project development and making sure that the projects are on track and have the resources that they need in order to be able to stay on time and deliver. So we ask each of the project sponsors to provide quarterly reporting. That quarterly reporting is in your agenda packet through a link. It's posted on our website. We don't include it in the packet itself because it's like 20 or 30 pages. And so it just extends the size of the packet for no reason when you can just click through to the link. Unless anybody needs a physical copy, in which case we would happy to print them out.
I don't know how our schedule is looking for the agenda and so forth, but I think it might behoove us, because of the comments that we heard back from Sebastopol and so forth, to take 3 or 4 minutes and just kind of refresh our minds as to the process of how these projects come to be, because it seems like we have a lot of questions that maybe, and no offense intended, I hope none taken, but some of our committee members probably want to be part of the TAC committee, because isn't that where all these decisions are kind of gone over in detail?
So
And we're just really looking at the
Sure,
overgloss.
let me roll back just.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Nobody does it better, Shauna.
Thank you. So as David mentioned, in the last round, for the SCTA, when it was still SCTA funding program, what happened is we issued a call for projects, and then we got projects, and the timing of what we got from MTC and what we developed as our own criteria sort of was staggered. So the way that we evaluated the projects didn't work. I mean, they were all evaluated, they were all scored, they were all then brought through each of the committees. They were brought through not only the Technical Advisory Committee for a recommendation of funding, but then they were also brought to the CAC, and they were brought to the to the Transit TAC. And I believe because it includes Go Sonoma, it also went to the CAAC, which is the
Climate Action Advisory Committee.
Climate Action Advisory Committee as well. It went to all the committees.
Yeah.
And so everybody got a chance to see which projects were being developed, how they'd been scored, and what the staff recommendation was for funding. Then it goes to the board for approval. The board considers all of the input that we receive from all of the committees and from staff, and then they make their decision on what should be funded. We did stagger it a little bit, which is similar to what's happening this cycle, because the State Transportation Improvement Program has their call for projects, and we need to submit what projects we intend to propose for funding earlier than all the rest of the projects that have to be considered. So what's going to happen is we're going to get applications in August from all of the project sponsors, and then we're going to have to immediately look through and see what we think are the best candidates to receive that State Transportation Improvement Program funding. That comes through the state. It's not federal funding. It can be federalized, but it's from the state. That'll go first to the board in September. Then the rest of the projects will be scored, but that first round, that STIP funding, will just be an evaluation based on staff review. And then we will go through a full scoring process where we will, and you have all seen the evaluation criteria and the scoring rubrics that we developed that match up with the application. All of that is available online on our website. You can go to the SCTCA funding program cycle 2 on our website, and all of that information is there in case you'd like to review how we will be scoring the projects. Just for your information, we do intend to develop a staff-wide number of teams. We also intend to include staff from each of the jurisdictions. They will not score their own, obviously, applications, but we do hope to have at least one outside member per team. Each team will review between 5 and 10 applications, depending on how many we get and how many teams we split up into. We will require that each of the teams has consensus on each of the scores that's provided. We don't want it to be
Right.
disparate. You know, somebody thinks it should get a 4 and somebody thinks it should get a 9, that sort of thing on each individual question. So we will be looking for consensus among the team members for the evaluation. All of those things will get evaluated, and then staff will assimilate all that information, and we will be looking to provide something. But in the meantime, so from August on, we will be looking to evaluate, but it's going to be a long while that we have to do that, because we won't hear from MTC about their call for projects for the OBAG 4 until January. So once we know what they're asking for and what their requirements are, and we have a good idea, which is why we've front loaded this, but until we know exactly what they're asking for, we won't be able to put our foot down on what should get federal funding.
Okay.
So then we will consider not only a total point value, but we will also consider geographic equity and you know, a number of other factors that will come into play in order to make sure that our recommendation is well-rounded before we take that to the board. And as I said, it will go to all the committees first.
It's a complex process. That's why I think it's good every once in a while just to come back and kind of review how we go through that. So thank you for that, Jerry.
Not without a comment. So, you know, I sit both on the Policy Advisory Council and also on the Network Management, whatever that is, in the CAG for that. And I brought out the point about the scoring system that you use, and that for projects at the MTC level, we don't really have a sheet as comprehensive. When, this is probably 2 meetings ago, or maybe 3 meetings ago, you supplied us with the details on all of that. We never got to review it because we got short in the meeting. And the one comment I had on the scoring was, it was really good in almost every category, with the exception of, for the projects, it didn't say the project is intending to solve this problem. And I didn't see anything in the scoring that said, we believe it will solve this problem this much. And I thought that was a weakness in the sheets. I went back and forth looking at it, trying to find where we score our assessment as to whether the project will solve the problem that it said it's going to address. And I thought that was a weakness in it. Did I just miss that?
There are certainly locations within the application that ask, what is the purpose of the project? What problem needs to be solved? And, or, you know, what is the need is how it's worded. And then the project applicant is given the opportunity to provide their answer for how they believe that will be achieved. We will evaluate whether or not we think that that is a successful argument. Some of it is objective. Sure, some of it is objective. But I mean, this isn't science, right? I mean, there is science involved. There are a number of portions of the application that are absolutely quantitative, and, you know, the emissions reductions and so forth are, so we try to make it a balanced application process. However, I mean, transportation planning and programming is not science. So it's, you know, while there is science involved, it's not solely a science. So some of it does become objective, and it is based on our professional skills and knowledge in order to make that determination.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do think that we have what is a very reasonable and our best effort to get at that information. And as we continue to build, as I mentioned before, the application process last time, the scoring rubrics were used, but the application didn't ask for those questions last time. This time, we're actually asking the questions that match the rubrics that we're using. So I think that we're going to get a much better applications batch this time. And then next time, we should be able to compare back and forth. We should be able to, as we amass this data, please keep in mind that it's only happens every 4 years. So you have to be a little long in the tooth to have seen all of these. But it should, going forward, have a process that we can compare back and forth and see what we thought was going to solve a problem and whether or not that was actually achieved.
Yeah, Steve.
So overall, we're looking at a 25% reduction in VMT.
The goal.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where does that come into all of these?
That's a good question. There is one question that talks about, remind me if I'm wrong, that talks about not VMT reduction, but that would certainly talk about GHG reduction, and we ask about mode shift, but I don't know that we are trying to quantify VMT reduction as part of the in the application process.
Yeah, I can see that would be hard with projects, but someplace we need to start reaching that goal.
Sure, I agree.
Okay.
Metric the state's looking for now, though, is GHG instead of, I know this legislation on VMT, but I know on the next generation highway project that a lot of their measurement was on GHG, not necessarily VMT.
That's a question for Chris Barney because it is not an easy answer. So I'm gonna leave that one alone if you don't mind. Chris is here. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, the state's actually come up with a lot of different metrics as part of CAPT. So, we're tracking some of those as part of our comprehensive transportation plan. These projects can just make incremental progress towards a lot of those. The goals and targets that the state have set are really optimistic and are going to be difficult to meet, especially when you're considering a small local project. So there are a lot of other things that we need to take and consider when we're considering this project. There are local safety improvements, operational improvements, things like that, that don't necessarily do anything to help us hit those statewide goals, but are very important for the local improvements as well. So it's kind of a balancing act, but we're watching those statewide goals and targets. And in the next few months, we'll have a presentation on the CTP performance.
I know for traffic, it switched from level service to
VMT, yeah.
But I thought in other projects with the MTC, they were sent GHG goals.
Yeah, from the Air Resources Board, I believe it's 19% and it's potentially going above 20. So yeah, we definitely track VMT as part of the CTP. We'll have a report on that the next couple of months. Yep.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Brenton, I think you're up.
Right. Hello, everyone.
How
Happy
you,
Monday.
how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Let's see.
Did you teleport?
I did. We're getting into our year-end period. I was in my office. All right, let's see. I'm going to request a share here. Good. Perfect. Okay. This is the Measure M and Go Sonoma financials for last month, the month ending May 31st. The usual packet of materials was provided, which is the Measure M and Go Sonoma balance sheets and cash flow reports, both for the current month and, I'm sorry, year to date and program to date for Measure M and year to date for Go Sonoma. Revenues for Measure M were $2.994 million in May, with year-to-date revenues of $25,917,928. And expenses in May were $459,596 for year-to-date expenses of $20,794,792. And Measure M is sitting on a cash balance of $81,603,509. So May revenues, pretty much the standard split here. There was $2,892,763 in sales and use taxes, and the rest was federal pass-through dollars. That was reimbursements for the Safe Route to School program. Of note, this is the final Measure M sales tax. So going forward, the taxes will be Go Sonoma taxes.
An historic occurrence.
That's right. I'm glad you're all here for it.
Absolutely.
I think that's a question for David. I don't think all of it's earmarked. David, all 81 of the cash balance in Measure M.
So we have a number of projects that had not had any activity yet. We do have some plans for those funds. We will be potentially including some of those funds as part of the STA funding program called for artists for eligible projects that could qualify for Measure M LSP funds. For the Highway 101 program, we do have some funds that were approved by the board to exchange for other funds that will be transferred to the SCTA budget to deliver those local projects. However, we will be continuing to work on closing out any remaining funds and assigning them to projects over the next 10 years.
Thank you, David. All right, so here is the year-over-year tax comparison. So it's nice to see that here in May, our 2.89 million was up 4.12% from where it was last year. So a good month. The year-to-date earned is now down 1.21% with 23,371,000, down slightly, but after this good month, it's improving. And year-to-date received was $28,912,180, which is down 1.6%. So hopefully this 4.2% increase is a sign of a trend. The May expenses were low for Measure M at $459,596. Most of that was contributions to other governments at $387,935. There's also $35,683 in staff time and $25,540 in consulting services. Go Sonoma, no revenues in May 2025, should be the last slide that has this on there. Our year-to-date revenues are $28,514. And the expenses were $136,101 in May for year-to-date expenses of $842,842. And Go Sonoma is sitting on a cash balance of $965,672.
Why was there no revenue in May?
The revenues in May were still Measure M revenues. So the interest is applied quarterly, but the sales tax revenues that we got in May were Measure M. The Go Sonoma will start receiving the sales taxes next month.
We receive funds from California Department of Tax Administration 2 months in arrears. So we'll receive our April revenue in June. And so when Go Sonoma started revenue collection in April, that's when we start receiving Go Sonoma funds. So we're not seeing that check delivered until June.
Thank you.
We have received it at this point, but it was received in June. Just as we received it last week. All right, and so the May expenses for Go Sonoma were split fairly evenly, $67,843 in consultant services and $62,438 in staff time. And that concludes our financial presentation, unless there's any questions.
Hey, Jerry's got a question. Glad to see you participate.
Yeah,
in the change, Jerry.
So the one question is, we start paying back Measure M once the funds start coming in, or is that?
I think it depends on how the taxes are received and how the programs are allocated, right? When the programs come up, we'll determine whether we need to pay back Measure M or continue to take out more of the loan that was initially authorized.
And the other question is in reporting, when you report in the future with Measure M, will you show us with Ghost Sonoma, will you show us in contrast to what the previous year was with Measure M, so we know whether we're going up or down or?
I can start doing that. Yeah. So include this same slide, but
Yeah,
use the
just
Measure
got
M.
one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
Do you have a guess as to why the 4% change? It's like,
I really
I have
don't.
no logical explanation for that, do you?
Sometimes when we see
That
these
seems
big
big,
jumps, it can
yeah.
be related to one large taxpayer who paid a month late or something like
Oh,
that. So it
that's
could
what-
be a one-off thing
Probably
like that.
Brian Lang, probably Brian Lang.
I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah,
but
well,
yeah.
no, we don't want to embarrass him.
So that can happen if it's one particular jump, one way or the other.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
So how are we affected by what's going on in Washington DC right
When it comes to our Go Sonoma revenue, I think we are kind of subject to any kind of economic fluctuations we have, whether that's from tariff or taxation policy or just from general worldwide economic conditions. We're not necessarily affected too strong on that since we don't rely too heavily on federal funds. But when it comes to our sales tax revenue, we're really just dependent on the state of the economy.
now? So just in the overall percentage,
Correct.
how much is at risk?
I couldn't speculate on what the economic impact could be from changes in taxation or tariff policy. I think we could look back at the historic revenues and we've had decreases in revenue during the COVID-19 pandemic and during the Great Recession. And so those could be decreases of -1% to 5% in a fiscal year. I think over the last 20 years, we've shown that the average revenue increase year over year for Ghost Sonoma was in the range of 2 to 3% once you average it out over time. And so any short-term disruptions like that generally work themselves out over the course of the sales tax collection.
Tariff increase.
Mostly the names.
If the local tax measures are successful in 26, let's say, I don't know, I've heard of 4 of them. Smart's one, of course, Windsor, City of Santa Rosa, and the newest one I've heard of, Santa Rosa JC. If those all bump up our tax rate to 10.5 to 10.75%, does that put an automatic dampener on what we can expect?
I don't think it necessarily puts an automatic damper on revenue collection. You may see some people reducing their expenditures just because this tax rate is higher, but I don't think we can necessarily have any kind of correlation from that we can point to.
Don't forget though, John, that at least the smart tax is not a new tax, it's an extension.
Right, but what I was getting at was it would effectively with these other ones would put us above 10.5 as a sales tax rate. So just wondering how psychologically if that's gonna have an effect on people's buying things in Sonoma County. I don't know. Not much we can do about it, above our pay grade. Anyway, thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. What's that? Yeah. All right, Dana? Oh, where'd Dana go? Oh, there she is. Hi, Dana.
Hello. Right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, how does that look?
Looks good.
Beauty.
Okay, great. So I'm happy to be presenting on the draft recommendations from the mascots effort. This is the Marin Sonoma Coordinated Transit Service Plan. You'll see here the logos of the 9 agencies that have been participating in this effort, the 6 transit operators and the 3 funding agencies, including SCTCA. So this is a collaborative partnership to advance cost-effective transit ridership, recovery, and growth in the North Bay. We did introduce this plan, this effort to you all last fall. So I'll start by giving you a recap of the effort as a whole and the key findings from the existing conditions, and then present on the draft recommendations and conclude with next steps. So we embarked on this effort last year to comprehensively evaluate transit in the Highway 101 corridor. This is an opportune time because this type of comprehensive assessment has not been done since SMART came into service or since the pandemic changed travel patterns. The effort is focused on transit services along the 101 corridor and primarily on the regional services. It is grounded in post-pandemic travel and work patterns, and there are 3 primary goals associated. To grow ridership, so to improve service frequency, effectiveness, and legibility along Highway 1 corridor to better serve existing and future transit customers. To work as if there were one transit agency, so approaching planning as an operator neutral exercise to determine what services will best serve existing and future riders. And to develop a plan, not a study. So mascots will directly inform service changes. This process was grounded in data and intended to be near term, something that could be feasibly implemented next year. So it's not a long-term visionary project. We started last summer with gaining a deep understanding of current ridership, travel patterns, and we hired a consultant with support of MTC to get an objective third-party perspective on service in the corridor. Through last fall and winter, we developed a series of solutions that were thoroughly discussed with staff and the general managers. And we also conducted a technical evaluation of the options that all informed the recommendations you'll see here today. We're coming to you before going out to the public with a survey to get input on the recommendations this summer. And our goal is to adopt the final recommendations this fall and implement in early 2026. So I'll cover some of the key findings that are the foundation of the recommendations. SMART has replaced Golden Gate Transit Route 101 as a predominant passenger choice for regional intra-Sonoma and Sonoma to Marin County trips. Route 101 is redundant with SMART in Sonoma County through much of the day, though there are gaps in SMART's schedule, which that 101 service has been able to fill since it is hourly service. Highway 101 Southern Marin is overserved, and there are too many bus routes carrying too few riders, which is inefficient and can cause customer confusion. Most travel to San Francisco originates in San Rafael or areas further south. And local services should have stronger, more direct connections to feed SMART. In developing service proposals to respond to these findings, there are a few key themes of what we're trying to do. First, to reduce duplication, more frequency on fewer options, which aids rider understanding and usability of the network. It also optimizes use of resources by removing overlapping services, which may be redundant. Second, to improve connections, improve frequency, can also improve connections between services. And finally, put service where ridership potential is the greatest. This means removing low ridership segments and repurposing those resources in areas where ridership demand is higher. So the biggest move of the mascots recommendations are here, and currently SMART and Golden Gate duplicate each other between Santa Rosa and San Rafael, which is not an optimal use of resources. The recommendation is to discontinue the Route 101 north of Novato, where ridership is weakest and SMART ridership is growing rapidly. To accomplish this and still provide riders adequate service, we do need to increase SMART span and frequency. So the mascot's recommendation is to go from 42 weekday trips on SMART to 48, and from 16 weekend trips on SMART to 24. This will achieve evenly spaced, at least hourly frequency on weekdays and weekends to backfill the 101 service. Mascot's recommendation represents a 14% increase in weekday service and 50% in weekend service, which is a 19% overall increase in service on SMART. Golden Gate resources saved would be reinvested in more Golden Gate 101 service between Marin County and San Francisco, which is the area with the greatest demand into San Francisco. This improved frequency also makes it easier for SMART riders to transfer to the 101 at the San Rafael Transit Center for trips into San Francisco. For Sonoma riders, they will also be able to transfer from SMART to the 101 or to the ferry in Marin County to reach San Francisco. In Sonoma County, this will be a reduction in the span of service to the current 101, which operates until midnight currently. But ridership on those late night trips is very low, and virtually no agency in peer areas operate this late. It will also require San Francisco bound riders to transfer to the 101 or to the ferry at Larkspur to get to San Francisco. But consolidated regional service between Novato and Santa Rosa does provide faster, more reliable, and regular connections between Sonoma and Marin counties. So this slide shows some recommendations that are specific to Southern Marin, so I won't get into too much detail about that, but essentially they are to streamline service and provide more frequency on key routes in Southern Marin. So with SMART as the mainline connection along 101 in Sonoma, Marin, and in between the two counties, it becomes even more important to make strong direct connections from local bus services to SMART stations. Petaluma Transit, San Rosa City Bus, Sonoma County Transit, and Marin Transit should all implement schedule changes and route alignments to make strong direct connections to SMART stations. It is worth noting that Sonoma County Transit already rerouted the Route 20 from the Russian River area in Sebastopol to serve SMART directly, based on a recommendation that came out of this study, and has already gotten very positive feedback from riders about that change. Petaluma Transit is also increasing frequency on routes 2 and 11 to 15-minute headways, which both feed directly into SMART stations in Petaluma, and that is expected to happen this summer. So most of the local bus changes are designed to be revenue hour neutral, so with no need for increased funding. So as far as commuter services, generally the commuter buses are currently serving the purpose that they're designed to serve. However, there are some tweaks that are warranted. There are 3 commuter bus services in commuter routes in Sonoma County. The 164 has fairly low ridership, and the recommendation is for those hours to be reinvested into more frequent 172 service. The 172X only operates 2 trips in the peak hours, and so combining these all into one service that operates more frequently will make that service easier to understand and to use. So this new combined route should stop making local stops in San Francisco to save time for riders with the longest distance to travel. This new combined route will offer greater frequency in the later morning and earlier afternoon trips. And during the peak of the peak hours, there would be 50-minute service on the commuter routes. There are recommendations to streamline the Route 580 operated by Golden Gate Transit in Marin County to speed up travel time. So a summary of these recommendations are, there are 5 of them. For SMART and Golden Gate Transit, they're to discontinue the Golden Gate 101 service north of Novato and increase frequency between San Rafael and San Francisco, and to increase SMART frequency and extend span. For Southern Marin bus service, it is to streamline routes between San Rafael, Marin City, Sausalito, and San Francisco. For local bus connections to SMART, improve those local bus connections for all operators with strong direct connections to SMART. For Golden Gate commuter routes in Sonoma, combine the 3 routes into a single alignment with improved frequency and restrict San Francisco local travel to reduce travel time. I'll also note that the opening up of the Marin Sonoma Narrows is expected to decrease the travel time on those Golden Gate Transit commuter routes as well. For Golden Gate Route 580 in San Rafael, follow the 580X alignment to improve travel time. And to summarize the new post-Mascot service structure along the 101, including what roles each service is intended to provide, SMART becomes the primary Marin Sonoma regional service provider. Golden Gate provides all-day express limited stop service from key ridership hubs along Highway 101 within Marin County. Golden Gate provides peak commuter bus services from Sonoma and Marin counties direct into San Francisco. And Golden Gate continues to provide strong ferry connections to and from SMART to connect riders to San Francisco. Marin Transit provides local services along Highway 101 and connections to the regional SMART ferry and Golden Gate services. So for customers, that means the network is easier to understand and therefore use. More frequency makes every line more useful and makes connections easier because a perfect schedule coordination is less needed. Improved regional connections with better SMART service and more usable and understandable service into San Francisco from the highest demand areas. And most regional trips will have lower fares than the current fares. A simpler, more frequent network that has better connections will increase ridership. There are riders who will be impacted by these changes, and the vast majority of these riders will have a comparable or better alternative that will get them to their destination at the same time of day and with a comparable or faster travel time. A small number of riders will need to change the time of day they travel or stop where they access the bus. And so for Route 101 riders in Sonoma County, they'll have to take SMART instead of 101, and SMART will expand their frequency and span to offer regular hourly service all day. So most riders should have a comparable option to their current route. The travel time is comparable or faster on SMART within Marin and Sonoma. And to get to San Francisco, riders can transfer to the 101 at the San Rafael Transit Center. And the 101 frequencies from in Marin County will be much higher, so those transfers will be easier at those peak times. The 101 will operate every 15 minutes south of San Rafael, which will make transfers easier as well. And for commuter riders in Sonoma, the 172X and 164 will be replaced by higher frequency 172 service. So here is our overall timeline. Public outreach is going to be from July through August. This presentation will be brought to the boards and committees of the participating agencies during this time. And a final document with any changes from rider survey input will be brought to the agency boards with the greatest service changes for adoption in the fall. This is intended to be a 3-year pilot, and it would begin in spring 2026. And the pilot would be evaluated along the way with a comprehensive evaluation after 2 years. Public outreach will be a joint effort between all participating agencies. An MTC consultant is working with agency staff on outreach, which will include a public survey at various pop-up events. And the survey will be highly focused on transit riders on these routes and will be distributed to transit riders. Input from that survey will be taken into consideration for the final document that would go to boards for adoption in the fall. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Ina, I have a question. So you said that there's gonna be reduced travel on Golden Gate from Sonoma to Marin. How's that gonna affect the blind folks who ride the Golden Gate Transit to and from Sonoma and Marin? Because there's a lot of folks who are blind who do ride that bus service.
So people who are currently riding the Route 101 in Sonoma County would need to use SMART instead. And SMART service would increase frequencies to kind of match what the 101 is providing today.
So what you're saying is that they would need to ride the SMART train and not the bus.
That's correct.
So it currently the train runs till 8 p.m. A lot of folks can't get back here by that time, so they're going to be stuck either on either side of the county line. So how do you propose to fix that?
Yeah, so the proposal is to increase the span of SMART service as well. So it would run later than it is, earlier and later than it is today. And the current gaps in the train schedule would be filled with additional runs.
So we're losing Golden Gate service altogether from Marin.
Just the 101 service. So that hourly service that makes local stops throughout Sonoma and Marin County, that would no longer come into Sonoma County. The commuter service that operates, in the morning and the afternoon would continue, and frequencies would increase on that service.
That's going to be a huge problem for a lot of folks. I would really evaluate that.
Well, we would love to talk with you in more detail about what what the travel pattern that either you or folks are using today, and exactly what your concerns are. And I think that I'd be happy to follow up with you later and talk with you about that in more detail.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. I have one question and one comment and one suggestion. I gather this survey was largely addressed at the 101 corridor. I didn't hear anything about West County, West Sonoma County, or West Marin County. I didn't hear anything about the Sonoma Valley, about Highway 37, or the parts of the county on 101, but north of Windsor. We have to think about what is going to happen there until SMART is finished. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this study was really focused on the Highway 101 corridor, and the intention of it was to address the transit duplication and efficiency along the 101 corridor in Marin and Sonoma counties.
Okay, thank you. Now, part of your emphasis was on improving the connectivity between bus services and SMART. And I'm kind of frustrated to hear that, because I've been hearing about that for several years. And I thought we were working on that. What's taking so long? I mean, we know that's a problem.
Yeah. So, I think that there's a couple things happening. When SMART first started, there were a number of efforts to connect local transit service better with SMART. Um, the bus agencies saw very little use of transferring from the bus routes to SMART. And I think that some of that is starting to change as SMART, SMART is being used more. The ridership is growing quite a lot. I think that there may be more of an appetite for SMART riders to use the buses as connections. But initially, we really saw very different users of the services. And, part of this effort is really to encourage those connections and encourage people to use the local buses as connections to SMART. And, a number of those efforts will be to, make minor tweaks in the schedules, the bus schedules, but I think also with the increased service on SMART, making those connections will be easier, and it will be easier for the buses to not have to prioritize meeting either a northbound or a southbound train with those higher frequencies.
One of the problems that SMART has, which it frustrates the matter of connecting with buses, is it's a one-track railroad with passing sidings here and there. And so they're very limited to their schedules. They have to make sure that their trains can pass one another. And I don't know what's going to change with the Windsor extension, but from the airport to Larkspur, basically they're on 64-minute headways. It'd be nice to be 60, but it can't. It just doesn't work out. But anyway, what? Well, maybe.
So yeah, a 32-minute headway is the most frequent that SMART is able to run. And there are some of those, during the peak times. Currently, there are some 32-minute headways. This proposal would essentially mean 64-minute headways all day, and then 32-minute headways during the peak travel times.
SMART can run 3-car trains, and that allows them to increase their capacity. But when Eddie was here a meeting or two ago, he said they can't run longer trains than that because their platforms aren't long enough. Anyway, just one more thing. I was having a discussion the other day with some friends who are from this area. We were talking about the success of the SMART shuttles that they've instituted at Larkspur to get to the ferry and at the airport road to get to the airport. Why not more of those? For example, it just is incomprehensible that there's no shuttle from the Rohnert Park station to the Grayton Casino. It seems like there would be an enormous amount of interest in that route. Or shuttles between the Rohnert Park and or Cotati Station in Sonoma County, Sonoma State. Or between North Santa Rosa and
I saw those people walk by and I was like, hey, that's the guy who's probably doing like Hawaiian outrigger stuff.
Somebody needs to mute. Thank you.
Anyway, there's other ideas, and one of the problems, of course, is who's going to pay for it. But some of them seem like they're pretty obvious. Why doesn't the casino pay for a shuttle? It seems like it would be good business for them. Anyway, more shuttles as they can be afforded would be a good idea, I think. That's it for me.
Good suggestions. I do want to point out the time. We're at 1:45, and some of the comments might not be right on target here. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, number one was that I like the goals that you guys all started with, especially acting like one agency. And I was wondering how much the ties study has been useful in, at least from the bus point of view, on how to do that. A couple of comments, the headways, as Rick said, the 20 headway, the best headway is an hour. Most of the headways are 2 hours or more. So it's not serving, we're not serving the east-west, and that hopefully as the plans come out for the changes in the buses to support SMART, that we look at the headways and figure out how to get more people there. I've had people on the train with me who were frustrated because they had to drive to the train, couldn't find parking, and said they have friends and those friends won't do it because they can't drive and they just want to get to the train. And it's a great service. I've been on the train other times when people have been there, and one guy said, I had to take the train today, my car broke down. He said, this was cheaper and faster. Why am I taking the car? So anyway, looking for better headways both on the 20 and on the 580. We don't have connectivity to the East Bay. And the only East Bay connectivity we have is to go through San Francisco or the 580 bus. And that'll take you onto BART and get you into the entire Bay Area. And I think that'll become popular if that got as frequent as the 101. And I have to congratulate both Golden Gate and SMART for finally getting 101 and SMART coordinating. You walk off the train and you step right onto a 101 and they leave. And one day the 101 was 5 minutes late. So the bus driver said, the ride's free. So there were 30 people. We all got on the bus. We all got to drive to San Francisco for free because the bus was 5 minutes late. That was where he was going. One suggestion I have as well. We have some private transit services, Groom as an example. Our transit centers don't have the private entities coming in. They could be providing some of this too. We'd be willing to pay for it in some cases for riders. But we need to have more transit centers. I use Roanoke Park all the time, but the train is there. That's it. I used to drive down to Petaluma because it's a transit center. Santa Rosa's transit center is kind of split. And that's a problem. We need to start thinking about in this solution as well, how we can make some of those areas transit centers. And we don't look at it. But I do have to congratulate the team on breaking some glasses in order to look at this a different way. And I think you've done that, and I suggest you continue to do it and find other ways to get SMART filled up.
All right, Steve.
I don't want to make this too long, but my sense is that, sorry.
There you go.
My sense is that at a SMART station, there should be 4 buses waiting when the train arrives. One to go to the northeast, one to go to the northwest, one to go to the southwest, one to go to the southeast. The thoughts so far have all been, you can go east, you can go west, but we don't complete the circuit. How far out in the field is that concept?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that some of the challenges lie around, the actual right of way and space where, space for buses around the train stations. It's not easy to do that in many areas. But that is, yeah, and I mean, I think frequency is a big issue, right? So not having the bus transit service frequencies to the level that could support that in some areas. But that is, yeah, something great to consider and that we should keep working on.
All right.
Good work.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
All right, guys, announcements. Good of the game? Jerry.
It's not an announcement. Just a suggestion. With the MTC for each one of the committees I belong to, if we need a quorum, if that's required for some of the things that we do, that the week before the meeting, an email sent out to everybody saying, are you going to make it? And so we know ahead of time, and you know ahead of time, well, you have a quorum and what things can be done. So just a suggestion for the future for us.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Like me to read it.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Says, what are your plans for improving congestion between Kern Avenue and the downtown mall? The road isn't wide enough.
I can take that, Mr. Chair. So we recently had this question come up at the Transit Technical Advisory Committee. The Hurton Avenue interchange is proceeding well through construction, and the plans are, once the interchange is done, there'll be 2 lanes available in each direction. Currently, because there's only 1 lane in each direction, Santa Rosa City Bus does not operate over the overcrossing. However, they do have plans in their short-range transit plan to extend one of their routes, so it would go over the overcrossing and provide connectivity directly to the Santa Rosa Marketplace and other destinations over there. So there are plans to improve the service across the overcrossing for transit, and those will be done once the overcrossing is completed, hopefully by the end of the calendar year.
Thank you. I would just say that Hearn Avenue project is going along very, very nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a confusing, complicated traffic freaking nightmare. And they're talking about being done in November, that'd be awesome if they can. Anyways. Anything else? Any other announcements? Thank you. We're adjourned.
Bye.